So between 2020 and 2023, we've had the virus, we've had layoffs, we've had banks failing, we've had the resurgence of AI. We've had a lot of things happen. And during times like these, it's important to understand the trends that are happening and understand what that means for the future. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing in today's video. We're going to be analyzing 5 trends that are happening around the world and how they can affect us over 2023 and into the future. And so to do this, we're going to be analyzing this Accenture Life Trends. Now, what Accenture does is they do research like this all the time. They publish a yearly report that is called the Life Trends Report. And they come out with some trends for the current year and what that means for the future. So we're going to be analyzing this from an analytic, a data analyst mindset. And so we're going to be going through these 5 trends that they've laid out. And then we're going to try to see what that means for our future. I've only been able to skim over this so far, so we're going to be examining it in further detail right now. Let me just change the size of this real quick. There we go. All right. So let's read over the intro here and see what they have to say. But emerging technologies are giving control to people with never before seen outcomes for businesses and individuals. AI lets people express their natural creativity. Web3, which up to this point has been quite a shit show, offers the chance to help shape the brands they love, and tokenization may soon hand them full control of their personal data. These seemingly small shifts in control will alter power dynamics on a systemic level. Business leaders must wonder, how much of themselves will customers be willing to give brands, and how will brands build trust and use technologies for growth? And these are all important questions, and a lot of people, I'm sure, are wondering the same things. Make sure you can see that. Sorry. There we are. All right. Now that we can see that a little bit better. But this is building on a 15-year legacy of Ford Trends. Like I said, that's Accenture Life Trends now. But this is the type of work that they do all the time, analyzing trends and providing those services to businesses and brands as they see fit. But we're looking at the power dynamic between brands and customers in the coming 12 months and beyond. And now, why am I looking at businesses? I know it doesn't sound too important for your daily life, but in reality, it is important for your daily life, because how companies interact with you and prices they set and the things they sell and the services they offer, those are all important, as I'm sure we all know. And with the way that things are going, with bank failure after bank failure, inflation at probably all-time highs, things aren't looking wonderful. So let's see what Accenture has to say about these 5 trends in 2023 and how those are going to apply to our life. So here's a quick overview of the 5 trends. First is I will survive, I'm a believer, as it was, okay creativity, and then signed, sealed, and delivered. Also, as we go through this, all of these images that they have are AI art generated, so keep that in mind. They're pretty cool, and they provide the prompts for those as well. All right, let's just go over the first one. I will survive. So they're saying the world's in a perma-crisis, but we will adapt. The world is lurching from one global catastrophe to the next: pandemic, war, extreme political division, cost of living crises, and the increasingly tangible impacts of climate change. Now, I don't know when this was written, but since then we've also had bank failure, of course, even more political division. We're seeing TikTok right now possibly being banned in the United States. I know that's been talked about for a few years, but there's even more, I think, than meets the eye when we're looking through this trend report, because every single day it seems like something new is happening with AI or in politics or in the war with Ukraine and Russia. A lot of different things. So just keep that in mind as we run through this. I don't know the date on it, but some of this stuff could already be dated. But anyways, back into this. But as they have for millennia, people will adapt. This time they're switching between 4 responses: fight, flight, focus, and freeze. So they're saying that with all these crises happening, those are the 4 things that people are doing. And the way that people adapt will affect what they buy, how they view brands, and their employers. For example, families seeking to make ends meet are cutting back on non-essentials like media and subscription services, resulting in a phenomenon dubbed the Great Cancellation. We've already seen also the Great Resignation, and we might even be in the process of seeing the great layoffs. We've seen tens of thousands of employees laid off from different big tech companies. Not only big tech, it's spreading elsewhere as well. But as we see crises after crises, we're only going to continue to see things like this, in my opinion. Now, hopefully, they're painting a pretty bleak picture right now, but let's see if there's any hope in this. But people are canceling gym memberships, pausing contributions to pensions, and abandoning health and life insurance policies. Now, I would love to see the data behind that. I want to see actually how many people are doing these things or where they're getting this information from. There is a full report, which I will link in the recording of the video. I don't have it in the description right now, but if you ever want to take a look at that and see maybe if they have data on that. But as people internalize instability as a norm, they will evolve into new versions of themselves, and the byproduct of that evolution will be the generation of products and services that are defined by their choices. Now, I hope that this whole thing isn't almost geared only towards the brands themselves, but how it affects the people that interact with those brands. Because as they're saying people are canceling gym memberships, pausing contribution to pensions, and abandoning health and life insurance policies. I wonder if their stance is going to be what this means for the people or what this means for the brands. But like I said, that's kind of one and the same. So let's see what they're saying about these people and what they're doing. So people will increasingly raise their voices against injustice. I think we're seeing this as there's public outrage, mainly pointed at Elon Musk, but all of the big tech companies that are laying off all these people. I think the important thing to understand is that in a time like this where there's inflation, and this is affecting both consumers and businesses, that layoffs are bound to happen. And not only this, but at these big tech companies, when money was flowing freely, they could hire for any and all positions that they possibly wanted, and even divisions of their company that could grow their company to an even bigger one, but in times like this just don't make sense. Mainly like the research and development phases of some of these bigger companies looking into AI. Maybe they can't afford to pay those people exorbitant salaries, and that is what would result in a lot of these mass layoffs. I feel like most of the layoffs that we've seen so far aren't business essential positions, and it's more of these research and development sort of positions that are being taken off. And I mean, I've even seen it. I've seen people within the past couple years laid off from their jobs. I know of a few personally, and it's hard, but at a time like this, it's to be expected. But that's the first response, is the fight response. And people are raising their voices and increasingly becoming more weary of their employers and other people's employers. But the next response is flight, and people will look for alternative options. Now, they don't really outline what alternative options are, but through COVID and increasingly now, I think, people are looking to spend more time at home, decrease costs in any way they can. One of these ways Okay, looks like the OBS disconnected for a second. I think I'm good now. But yeah, in this scenario, I guess I take the flight response because I'm working from home. I don't have to spend a lot of gas money. I don't drive much. I drive to the gym. I drive back. Sometimes I drive to my parents' house. This is one response in this specific scenario. Other ways that people could look for alternative options is looking for cheaper options. They might be canceling their gym memberships or Netflix memberships, like they said. Canceling, I feel like, insurance policies. Maybe that's a little bit too far, but I guess people do this in different ways. Next one is focus, and people will cope by focusing on what they can control. And I think this is honestly one of the best options. You can't control politics. You can't control whether or not you're fired. I mean, you can by your performance, but you can't control when they make that decision. You can't control a lot of things in life. And this is, I guess, a stoic approach to life, but that's how I view it. And I think that's an important distinction and an important way to react in situations like this. And moving forward, with all these crises that happen, I think that's a lesson that a lot of people can take, because you can't control whether there's a global pandemic. You can't ultimately control inflation. You can't control gas prices. So you can either sit there and complain about it and raise a fuss, but that takes a lot of mental energy from you. And focusing on what you can control, like your work ethic, your relationships, how you react, those are the types of things that you can control. And in times like these, it's important to understand that. And finally, probably the worst option out of the four that are presented here is freezing. And people will switch off entirely. I feel like everybody knows somebody who freezes up in moments of stress, and with crises like these, it's hard not to, but I guess that's what they're outlining here. Anyways, on to the next trend. I'm not sure what this one is yet, but it says, I'm a believer. Building a community will be essential to growing a customer base. In an unstable world, people seek out places where they feel they belong. As a result, next-gen brands will be built as communities first, reshaping loyalty and brand participation. 3 threads are converging to enable this model: communities of belonging, token-gated access to content and experiences, and digital collectibles. Crucially, technology isn't the most interesting thing about the model for customers. Companies should focus on benefits. I personally don't like the way that they're outlining this trend. I do think building a community is an essential part, or not essential. I wouldn't even say essential, but it's able to build a strong connection between a brand and a customer. Think about Mr. Beast building Feastables or Mr. Beast Burger. Those are built off of his community, and the people that like and watch Mr. Beast have a strong feeling towards him and any of the things that he puts out. And so you could see that they have like an immediate launch pad, and there's tons of demand for these products. I think those are the types of things that we're going to see more and more of in the future. But I don't think brand loyalty for something like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, is it really a community? I don't know. But then when they go on to talk about token-gated access to content and experiences and digital collectibles, it seems like they're really, really trying to squeeze out the Web3 train. I think it'll be an important part of the world in the future, but still, I don't think that it's essential as they're calling it. Now, if you talk to somebody like Gary Vee, I'm sure he would say differently, but that's just my opinion. I would be interested to see, how many of these projects, Web3 projects like this, where they have token-gated access to content and experiences, how many of them actually succeeded, and how many of them, looking back on the past couple years where that was prevalent, are actually just a scam or a quick money grab. That would be interesting to see, but let's continue on with see what else they say. Already thinking this way is Starbucks, whose tokenized loyalty program, Odyssey, is introducing Web3 to the mass market by focusing on rewards and brand engagement. Starbucks CMO Brady Brewer commented, "It happens to be built on blockchain and Web3 technologies, but the customer may not even know that what they're doing is interacting with blockchain technology. It's just the enabler. These Web3 developments will almost certainly give brands significantly more direct contact with and influence over their community, but they will have decisions to make around the dynamic. For instance, will they treat participants as customers or as part of the brand?" Well, I guess like the CMO of Starbucks said, they won't even realize that they're interacting with blockchain technology, because I've had Starbucks in the past couple of years. I had no idea that, those part of those brand loyalty quote unquote programs were interacting with blockchain technology. I don't know. Do you think that these communities or these brand loyalty programs can exist without blockchain? Absolutely. We've seen that in the past, and I'm sure that Starbucks had a similar thing in the past without Web3 or blockchain technologies. What addition, I would love to know, does that add to the brand loyalty experience? I don't know. And I don't think they're going to go on to say either. But to me, the Web3 tokenization and gated communities, they seem very good, I guess, at creating loyalty in a community. But I don't know if the world is ready to take part of that. again, the 3 threads that they're saying, communities of belonging, platforms like Reddit, Discord, and Twitch. Yes, I think those are the type of community and belonging that people do like, and doesn't leave a sour taste in the mouth. But the token gating and collectible version of this, where Web3 and blockchain and NFTs, I think it does leave the sour taste. So I don't know when Accenture wrote this again, but I feel like they're a little bit off on this one. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. The third trend, as it was. Return to office isn't yet a success for many. It still needs work. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be talking about the work from home trend, which personally, I love working from home. So let's see what they have to say about it. Everyone's felt the loss of intangible office benefits like chance encounters, in-person fun, and development of junior talent. Now the consequences are becoming clear, including unwanted compromises in mentorship, innovation, culture, and inclusion. I don't know. The consequences are becoming clear. I'm interested. I want to see some real survey data or data from companies about this trend. Personally, I love working from home. I don't think there's that much that I'm missing out on. I'd be curious if for anybody else that has done school at home or worked from home, what they think about it. But yes, I do wish I could have, some of the in-person encounters and learning. But the way at least my company's set up, we have a lot of meetings. We still get to interact with people. I'm not 100% isolated to myself in my room, even though sometimes maybe it looks that way from the outside. That's not the truth. And I don't think I've had to make any compromises in mentorship. I have coworkers also work from home who I can call on, and I'll just reach out, and I have that mentorship and that learning and inclusion. And it's important, I think, when you're working from home to have these kind of exercises with your teams that where everybody does feel included, and you may do something fun, little meetups, because that's the type of thing that would happen in an office setting. And as long as the company understands that and goes forward with that, then I don't think you're missing out on much. But let's see what else they say. Instead of continuing to improve what exists, companies should completely reimagine work and set out to earn people's commute by designing for both tangibles and intangibles. They will need to lead with a clarity of purpose and prioritize factors like fun, validation, team dynamics, and outcomes. There's a tension brewing between those who enjoy the autonomy of remote work and those who crave the rewards of being together. This is about shaping a new value exchange between employer and employees beyond money versus output. Sure, you can cultivate that kind of community and make people want to come into the office. But ultimately, everybody has their job for one reason. And that one reason is to make money and to be able to provide for their family. I think it's kind of gross when companies take this a step further and try to become their family. It's just weird. And I feel like that's what they're getting at here. I don't know. I don't know too much about, the people or research that went into this. But that's my feelings on it. Now, I don't think everybody has the same relationship to work, maybe that I feel like I do. But personally, I'm not looking for another family or another, place to have fun. Sure, I want it to be enjoyable and I want the work to be fulfilling. But ultimately, it's a job and it's there to make money. I don't know if there's a tension brewing between those who like remote work and those who don't. I honestly think there might be a tension brewing that these companies have a bunch of unused office space and they're spending all this money on keeping them afloat and up when they don't really need them. But on the plus side of that, if they get rid of them or companies start that don't have this office space, or maybe they have much smaller offices than they need, then it makes sense. You save a bunch of money, especially when inflation's running rampant and you're thinking about laying off people. Why don't you think about maybe, downsizing your office? I'm sure it's not easy to sell a skyscraper if your company's in a skyscraper, but that's my opinion on it. But finally, they ended off with leaders will need to go back to the drawing board and create logical, mutually beneficial plans with a life-centric approach. Make no mistake, it'll take more than drafting new policy. Leadership needs to put their full weight behind shaping and driving a brand new approach. Well, I don't think that's the brand new approach that we need. I think it would be important for a company, a new company, old company, whatever, who has moved remote to make opportunities for people to be able to get together. But personally, for me, if I had to go into the office, it would be a 3-hour drive to work every day. And that would ultimately result in me having to move and spend a bunch of money during a time where I don't want to buy a house, where I don't even have the money to buy a house. So that's the kind of things that companies also need to remember, is that there's people like me who just graduated school not too long ago, and they've really only ever known remote work. And to require them to come into the office, or I don't know, even once in a while, would make it very difficult. If they're able to provide stipends, whatever the hell that word is, to be able to do that, it would make it a lot easier. But would I want to do it? No. So regardless if you're defining clarity of purpose or policies, earn the people's commute with a promise of community, people don't want that. People want flexibility, and I think remote work offers that best flexibility. So I don't know. Trend 3, coming back into the office. I'm not on board. Accenture, I disagree. Show me the data. Let's see what other people say. I don't know. What do you think about remote work? Also, at this point in the video, if you made it this far, go ahead, drop a like, subscribe. I'm a data analyst. I've been working as a data analyst for 3 months, interned at 6 months. So if you like this kind of analytical view of the world, consider subscribing, because I'm going to be making more videos like this in the future. Okay, finally, onto something that I'm more interesting to me, talking about creativity and AI. So they're saying AI is becoming people's co-pilot for creativity. Until now, neural networks and artificial intelligence has been mainly used by enterprises to automate processes or services for people. That's all changing, as neural networks are suddenly widely available to help anyone create language, images, and music, putting AI squarely in people's hands as a co-pilot for their creativity. Brands and companies need to get on top of this right now, because developments are hitting the market at an astonishing speed. The pace of change is so extreme, it likely won't be long before AI can create metaverse worlds. See, here they are on the Web3 topic again. AI is going to be more powerful, I think, than any previous idea of what Web3 was, or what the metaverse could ever be. But they are right in that AI is changing every single day at an astonishing speed. And then it's going to be used a lot by companies. And it's going to change the way people work. So I feel like there's a huge disconnect between the last trend that we just talked about with going into the office, and then this one talking about AI. Let's see what else they have to say, because I do have a few more opinions on this. But as with all new tech, questions remain around ethics. If an artist's original work becomes embedded in AI-generated content, how will copyright issues be unpicked? Human creatives will need to upskill to use these tools and pay close attention to their craft to ensure quality of output. Companies should think about how they will stand out in the sea of AI-generated content. How can these new AI tools enhance the speed and originality of innovation? So they are right. Human creatives, not only creatives, but everybody will need to upskill into the use of these tools. And I think if you're not using them, you are going to fall behind. Already I've seen that AI can change the way I work. And now if I don't have readily available access to it, even though, of course, you can log on to ChatGPT, I don't think ChatGPT is completely available, or widely available at least. I think there's a wait list for it. But it can change the way I work as a data analyst, because it has an understanding of code beyond just, an answer to a specific question. It does have some level of reasoning capability, and the fact that you can interact with it after it gives you an answer and change the way it provides that answer to better fit your situation, that is powerful. So to me, it reminds me of Stack Exchange on steroids. You can go and ask it a question. I'm using R mainly at work, and so the ability to ask it questions, say, hey, quickly, how do I do this? I have this, this, and this, and I want it to be this. So I have these 3 columns, and I want to calculate a fourth column based on those 3. And if this value is this, then I want it to be positive. If it's this, I want it to be negative. I don't know. That's a made-up situation, but that's the type of level of reasoning that it has. And then if it gives you an answer, as a data analyst or whatever you are, you need to understand that answer and be able to articulate and understand what it's giving you and be able to tell if that's going to apply correctly to your situation or not. So at its current state, and I want to say that at its current state, who knows what's going to follow in the next 10 or 20 years on this. In its current state, there is a level of human interaction that has to happen. Because you can't just say, build me a website that has these features, and you can't expect the output to be 100% accurate. And you also need to understand in your situation how you're going to use that successfully. Now, just because you have a piece of code that does one thing doesn't mean that you can put it into a production setting. You have to understand those kind of nuances. And so I think it's going to change the way we work, but I don't think in its current state it's going to be really taking anybody's jobs. And I've used it personally for this YouTube channel, and I can promise you that it's not at the level of a human in terms of creativity with titling YouTube videos or making thumbnails. It's just not. Now, sure, it can give you a great starting point, but again, you have to have that human level of nuance to be able to apply it. But yes, the trend is happening, and it's happening very quickly. So who knows at what point this video will be outdated in terms of what AI can do currently. And I haven't had a chance to play around with ChatGPT-4, but I am excited. So it's saying AI is helping people create language, so copy for blogs, emails, and articles. Sound, I haven't got a chance to play with the music one, but I've seen videos of it, and it's very powerful and looks very cool. And then, of course, images. As you can see, all these images are actually AI generated, which is already powerful in itself. Now, finally, Trend 5, the last one that they want to talk about. Digital wallets could end the digital identity crisis. Now, I'm curious what they mean by the digital identity crisis, but let's see. The use and misuse of personal data is long overdue for a transformation, but control could soon switch hands. Digital wallets containing tokens representing payment methods, ID, loyalty cards, and more will allow people to gatekeep their own data. They'll be able to make decisions about exactly what they share with organizations and for how long they have access to it. Nonprofit technology consortium, the Linux Foundation, has opened up the Open Wallet Foundation, or the OWF, with a mission to develop a secure, multi-purpose, open-source engine anyone can use to build interoperable wallets. That's quite the term. And this is actually something that I can see happening, especially with the privacy concerns about data. This is something that I think is long overdue. And I think it's only a matter of time before this sort of thing takes over. With something like, I don't know, even as simple as a social security number or an identity card, some type of identification. If other people have access to that information, it can be very harmful to you. And it can be very harmful for companies as well that house a lot of this data. But I think that's kind of the point, is that all of this data, like I work in a healthcare setting, so there's tons of data around, patients and understanding, a lot about them for, the company's purposes. So with all this data, there's a lot of security concerns, and that's something that you run into with a lot of these big tech companies as well. And so I think people are going to place a greater emphasis on privacy of their own data. And I'd be interested to, learn more about how that would work, this digital wallet. So let's see what else they have to say. But this is all great news for brands too. As cookies are phased out, the data they use to yield won't be missed, as the data that people choose to hand over will be even more valuable. It'll be accurate and shared voluntarily, giving conversion rates as a much needed boost. Building customer confidence in digital wallets could be a challenge, but one worth facing head on. The technology exists and it works. Although it's early days, companies can accelerate adoption in several ways. So we're saying the technology exists and it works, but I don't know. I don't know if everybody's ready to hop on board. What this entails. Like I said earlier, I think a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth of Web3 and what that could mean. So I don't know. We've already seen, hacks happen with crypto exchanges, and so I think that it's going to be a long time before people are 100% comfortable with this kind of thing. But they're saying the technology exists and it works. I feel like if that was 100% true, then it would already be implemented. Let's see what else they have to say. But the route to digital wallet adoption. Show people the data control is worth the time investment. I don't think that people need that. I think people understand and already are upset with the way that data is currently handled. So I don't know if that's true, but make tokens easy to obtain and use in day-to-day transactions. Yeah, I think that if we're going to see this on like a government level, I don't know if I agree with the whole, own everything, like own your own data. But I think that we're going to see maybe a different way of identification for things like state-issued IDs or driver's licenses or debit cards, and the ability to protect that information in a tokenized way, I guess, does make sense. And then the last thing, help people understand a wallet's function beyond payment. Maybe they should be a little bit more clear on that. I don't know exactly what they mean by that. But finally, understand the permission levels people can grant to businesses. Now, this is an interesting one because I feel like there should be some level of control, and we're already seeing it in like countries in Europe that there's a lot different of policies around data and cookies, and I think it's only a matter of time before that spreads elsewhere. But that's the last trend. Let me know what you think. And that is the Accenture Life Trends. Ultimately, I don't agree with 100% of the things in here. I don't agree with a lot of the things in here. But those are the trends that they're writing about. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks for watching.